They ignored the woman in row 9. Then the pilot whispered her call sign to save them. She sat in seat 9A, her dark hair loose, hoodie rumpled, clutching a small fabric bag that looked more like a keepsake than luggage. To everyone else, she blended in, just another face in the rows. But when the plane jolted hard, rattling like it might come apart, she leaned toward the flight attendant and asked softly, "Is the cabin pressure dropping?" The attendant forced a professional smile, her voice too bright. "Please, ma'am, sit tight. The crew will handle everything." A passenger nearby rolled his eyes, muttering loud enough for half the row to hear. "What's she think? Secret pilot? Yeah, right." A ripple of laughter followed, sharp and dismissive, and then through the crackle of static, the intercom came alive. The captain's voice cut through the noise. "Night Viper, 9. If you're hearing this, we're waiting." The words hung in the cabin like a live wire. The jet shuddered again, clouds swirling outside the windows, lightning flashing like claws in the distance. Gasps rose, fingers dug into armrests, but row 9 stayed still. Rachel didn't move, didn't blink. Her glasses glinted in the dim light as if catching something no one else saw. The guy beside her, tracksuit bright and loud as his voice, leaned closer. "Lady, relax. You don't know what you're talking about. This ain't Hollywood." His buddy across the aisle cackled. "Yeah, what's she gonna do? Fly us to Wonderland?" Their voices carried, feeding the tension. A woman in a tailored blazer twisted in her seat a few rows back, her nails blood red against her armrest. "Excuse me," she cut in, her tone icy, "but we didn't buy tickets to hear a passenger play expert. Let the professionals handle this." Heads turned. A few nodded in agreement. The judgment landed like a gavel. Rachel's hand stilled on her bag. Then she quietly pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose. Nothing more. Just silence. But her silence felt heavier than any outburst could have. The flight attendant with blonde curls and a name tag that read Cindy rushed by, her smile cracked and gone. She stopped at row 9, her voice taut. "Ma'am, stop alarming the others. Please, stay calm." Rachel's gaze lifted slowly, her voice low, almost attached. "I'm not the one shaking this plane." Cindy faltered, swallowed hard, and moved on, but whispers spread like wildfire. A woman in a pink cardigan leaned across the aisle, her words sugar-coated but sharp. "Sweetheart, sit pretty and let the crew do their job. Nobody asked for a wannabe hero in row 9. Her husband, bald and flushed, smirked as he glanced at Rachel's worn sneakers and faded jeans. "Yeah, doesn't exactly scream pilot, does she?" More laughter. Rachel didn't argue, didn't explain. She simply adjusted her glasses again, a slow, deliberate move, as if counting down inside her head. The plane bucked again, harder. Overhead lights flickered, trays rattled, and a child in row 14 broke into tears. The fear spread, visible in every face, every clenched jaw. A man in a polo shot to his feet, pointing an accusing finger at Rachel. "You! Stop acting like you know something. You're scaring my kid." His voice cracked, but he pushed forward anyway. "I'm not letting some random woman in a hoodie freak out this cabin." Rachel turned her head slightly, her eyes meeting his. Steady, calm. It was enough to shut him up mid-sentence. She shifted her gaze back to the storm outside, unfazed. The mocking only grew sharper. The tracksuit guy leaned in, grinning. "What's next? You fixing the weather?" His buddy added louder, "Bet she's one of those conspiracy nuts. Probably thinks ghosts are flying the plane." Laughter again. Cruel, nervous. Rachel reached into her bag. A ripple of curiosity moved through the row. But instead of drama, she pulled out a battered little notebook. She opened it gently, brushing her fingers over the page, not reading, just touching, like it was memory, not paper. The cardigan woman snorted, her voice high with mockery. "Oh, great, a diary. Is this her superhero monologue?" Rachel ignored her. She sat, calm, flipping the page with the same focus a surgeon might use with a scalpel. The plane lurched again, harder still. This time oxygen masks dropped in the back rows. Screams erupted, hands fumbling with straps. A businessman in a loosened tie bolted upright, panic twisting into anger. Enough! Why is she still sitting there like she has answers? Get her out before she drives the whole cabin mad. Agreement murmured through the rows. Fingers pointed, eyes narrowed. Rachel remained still, hands on her bag, eyes on the storm, her jaw set like steel. Then the cockpit door swung open. The co-pilot stepped into the aisle, tall, jaw locked tight, eyes burning with desperation. He scanned the crowd, his words cutting over the noise. We need someone with navigation training, anyone with military background. Identify yourself now. The cabin froze. Silence except for the engines and the quiet sobs of a child. Cindy pointed toward row 9, hesitant, almost trembling. She mentioned decompression earlier. Seat 9. Aheads whipped toward Rachel. A woman in diamonds spat the words like venom. Her? You're trusting her? Look at her. She couldn't even afford this seat. Rachel rose, bag slung over her shoulder, steps slow, steady, deliberate, as she started down the aisle toward the cockpit. The cabin hissed with whispers. The woman with diamonds hissed louder. This is insane. She's nobody. You're gambling our lives on a hoodie. Rachel didn't flinch, didn't turn. She kept walking, her hand brushing the back of a seat, as if tethering herself to the moment. The co-pilot's eyes fixed on her, and the air in the cabin shifted like the storm wasn't outside anymore. But right here in row 9, the co-pilot stopped her in the aisle, his voice low but firm. Ma'am, have you ever studied aviation? Rachel's gaze lifted, calm but sharp. Your altimeter's drifting 4 degrees. That's why your readings are off. His eyes widened. He swallowed hard, nodded once. Come with me. She moved forward, sneakers soft against the carpet. That's when a man in a sharp suit stepped out, blocking the aisle. His watch gleamed as much as his arrogance. Wait, you can't seriously let her in there? Look at her. Hoodie, beat-up shoes. She looks homeless. This is a real emergency, not a game. Fearful passengers nodded, clinging to prejudice. Cindy's voice wavered, but carried. She's been cleared. She knows something we don't. The executive barked back. Technical support? Her? That's a joke. Rachel stopped, her voice so quiet it cut deeper than shouting. You just wasted 2 minutes because of your pride. That's enough time to lose a wing. The aisle went dead still. The man's mouth hung open, but she was already past him, steady as stone. A teenager shouted, filming on his phone. Yo, she's gonna crash us. Bet she's never even flown a plane before. His friends laughed nervously, egging him on. Rachel never turned. She simply kept walking, one hand brushing a seat back. Then the cockpit door loomed. The plane dropped violently, bins rattling, passengers screaming. The co-pilot gripped the wall, but Rachel didn't stumble. She stepped inside. The door sealed shut. Inside, chaos. Warning lights flashed across the panel. The captain's face was pale, sweat dripping. He turned, voice breaking. Viper 9? God, only one person ever used that call sign. Rachel didn't answer. She slid into the co-pilot's seat like she'd never left it. Pitch controls lined you. Actual altitude is 800 feet higher. Her hands danced across the controls, calm, precise. The captain's jaw worked, torn between disbelief and relief. You disappeared after Oregon. We thought you were dead. Her eyes never left the gauges. There's no time for ghosts. The radio crackled. Ground command barked. No passengers are authorized to touch controls. That's an order. Rachel's voice didn't waver. Then call search and rescue now. For 200 bodies. The captain froze. But the co-pilot stepped in, voice firm. I'll sign off. She's flying us. Rachel slipped on the headset, her fingers steady. With surgical precision, she recalibrated the system. The storm outside raged, mountains cutting jagged black silhouettes below. She flipped an old switch, echo wave radar, a relic most pilots ignored. Grainy terrain lines lit up the screen. The captain's eyes widened. You're using echo? That's combat-only protocol. It's the only system telling the truth, she said flatly. The jet dropped, then steadied, sliding through a narrow corridor of storm. Warning lights flickered out. For the first time in minutes, the cabin stopped shaking. Back in the cabin, passengers whispered in fear and awe. The executive sat rigid, staring at the floor. The pink cardigan woman hissed to her husband, "They'll kill us letting her fly." But a little girl tugged her mother's sleeve. "Is she a superhero?" Her mother hugged her tight, whispering, "She's the one keeping us safe." At Rachel's empty seat, an older man picked up the worn notebook she'd left behind. He opened it, his eyes widening. "These aren't doodles. These are flight logs. Military logs." He raised it so the row could see. "She's flown through hell before. This woman isn't a nobody." The cabin went silent. Rachel's voice crackled over the intercom, steady, calm. "Passenger 9. A speaking. Prepare for controlled descent. Buckle up." The words landed like steel. No one argued now. Even the security officer who doubted her sat down, jaw clenched. In the cockpit, Rachel's hands guided the plane like an extension of herself. Storm walls closed in, mountains waiting below, but her focus never broke. A scar along her wrist caught the light as she adjusted a dial. She didn't hide it. She didn't need to. Minutes later, the storm broke. Clouds thinned. The horizon opened. The captain whispered like a prayer, "She's flying like it's a war zone." Rachel didn't respond. Her silence said enough. The descent was smooth. The wheels kissed the runway in Tokyo like silk. Cheers erupted in the cabin. Tears, hugs, raw relief. The captain's voice came over the speakers, reverent. "This is your captain. We owe our lives to the passenger in row 9. Phones came out. Shaky videos spread across the internet before anyone even left the plane. By the time the passengers reached the terminal, her legend was already out there. But Rachel? She walked off last. Bag slung over her shoulder. No smile. No speech. Just fading into the crowd. Later, reporters hounded the airline. "Who was she?" "Passengers say a woman saved the plane." The airline spokesperson dodged. "Just a lucky passenger." But whispers spread. A grainy forum post appeared online, an old Air Force legend about a pilot who'd vanished after a classified mission. Codename, Night Viper 9. In Oregon, Rachel was in a greasy garage, sleeves rolled up, fixing an old carburetor. The radio buzzed with the president's voice, honoring an unnamed hero pilot. She wiped her hands on a rag, NV9 tattoo flashing for a second under the oil. The old mechanic poked his head in. "You hear that? Some war hero saved a plane." Rachel just nodded. "Sounds like quite a story." And kept working. The passengers never forgot. The little girl drew her as a hero in a hoodie, flying a plane. The executive lost his career after his words went viral. The pink cardigan woman vanished from social media. Rachel never chased. Validation never explained. She walked on, sneakers silent, carrying her truth in the steady way she lived. And somewhere high above, the sound of a jet engine hummed, steady, alive, because of her. That was enough. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below, hit like, and subscribe. Together we'll keep telling stories of strength, survival, and truth.